Alrighty, YouTube friends, what is going on? David Lee back. We are here with a brand new breakdown video. This is for Experian. For those of you who don't know who Experian is, they are a credit score company, or they can help you like boost your credit score and help you maintain your credit score over time. Blah-blah-dee, 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 right? We have two of these ads. They're very short ads, like 60-second-ish ads. And I wanted to break down these videos because I think it's a great representation of what you can do with very limited budget, very limited resources, very small crew sizes. Maybe it's just you and a camera assistant or a PA, something like that, right? And you need to be able to find a way to create the best image as possible that can also help the brand tell their story as best as possible too. So let's go ahead and hop into the first one. Alrighty, so if we take a look at the opening shot for this first one, we wanted to recreate a like a wedding, right? And so we wanted to find a location, wanted to be there at the right time of day, just because there's only certain things that we can control on location, right? So we have a pretty good location. We have a lake in the background. We're choosing to shoot at golden hour, right? So we have about that little 30-minute, half-hour window to shoot this entire thing because knowing that we can shoot at golden hour, it gives us the best opportunity to have the golden warm tones that we're looking for, right? Something that can represent a really nice wedding, right? Lake in the background adds to reflections that kind of help sell the whole ad. We have some art direction where we have some set decoration happening, a little arch here, a little drapery, some roses here on top, right? Just to kind of help elevate the whole project itself. So we started this first shot, just a nice little push in. This beginning shot was on the Blackmagic Pocket 4K, some kind of gimbal, I forgot what it was. But we're just a slight little push in, right? We're in an ultra wide lens, 12mm lens to show off the whole space, right? That's our establishing shot. So the first thing you'll notice here is our sun is way back here, right? It's actually probably right about here. It's just above the horizon. When it's just above the horizon, that's when you're going to get a nice soft ambient light, right? The higher the sun is, the more harsher the sun is, right? Or the more harsher the exposure is, meaning that there's more things you need to balance to, all right? So nice little framing here. We have a really condensed frame, right? Trees, grass, and then also, you know, it immediately draws you in when we have all of our talent here center framed, right? So let's go ahead and push in some little titling effect here. We push in and we come into the first part, right? Which is our host or our pastor, so to speak, right? Now, what do we have here? We chose to go on a very tighter lens, 70-200. The rest of these shots are actually on a different camera. This is Red Scarlet W, shooting in 5K. And when we don't have a lot to control in the background, we want to be able to not show as much of the background as possible, right? But we have a pretty cool looking scene here. So we want the 70-200 just to get closer onto the action. We're on sticks, no movement, but we have some good acting from our talent here, right? So as you can see, the depth of field here, where it's really interesting how it just pulls him out, right? Even though this isn't full frame, it's Super 35, but going on a longer lens, it gives us the opportunity to really like snap him into the foreground, right? Again, backlighting, choosing to shoot at the best time of day. You can see from the backlight how it creates a nice natural edge for him, right? Edge light here, edge light here. Actually, let me see if I can turn this thing here. There we go. All right. So we have edge light here, we have edge light here, edge light all around him, right? And it's creating just a nice soft, let me delete this, and it's creating just a nice soft ambient glow for him, right? A nice soft exposure, a nice soft key. We didn't do anything as far as bounce or neg. We just allowed the camera's dynamic range to help us out in post, right? Let us continue on. So he is talking about, you know, when we're getting together, beautiful moments here, and we're all just coming together. All right, we go into our close-up for our our groom, right? Now here the sun is in a different position, right? We have our sun way over here, right? And it's giving us a nice soft key. Now we're still shooting on the shadow side, so that does help us out, right? We have a nice little bit of highlight just creeping in. We have nice tonality, nice textures from the bouquet, the green in the background, the white, right? His darker hair, a nice soft. Again, this little edge here, right, is just ambient. It's just ambient bouncing back at him. All right. We continue on to our second close up, which is of our bride, right? The two most important people in this whole ad is her and it's him, right? So we want to make sure that they have the best lighting as possible, right? So we bump into our bride here. This is just happenstance where sometimes you get lucky. As you can tell, right, if we play through the ad, how there's like wind happening. You know, we didn't have like a fan or anything, a generator with a fan. We just had the wind coming in, right? And again, this is what backlight gives you, right? Backlight from our sun action here. Our sun, again, over here, coming in through these trees, is giving us this a bit of a hot edge, but it's still enough where it's drawing you into the most important thing in the frame, which is her, right? We're setting her up on a third. We have our arch here that's, again, helping to kind of sell layers as much as possible, right? We have layers from the background trees. We have a bouquet from the sun hitting through the trees. We have this light post here, again, out of focus. She's in focus. We have eye light here, right? Eye light here. And so you want to be able to, I guess if anything, the most important things when you're on a low budget is, one, find the best location, find the best time to shoot, whether that's sunrise, sunset, magic hour, golden hour, blue hour. And then, from there you can position your people as appropriate. You can use coverage, you can use blocking to your advantage when you have very limited budget for crew and also for lighting fixtures, right? And then the second thing really is just knowing what you can do to create more layers within the frame, right? So that's set decoration, right? That's production design. That's throwing in a little bit extra money to have this little archway here, having some flowers overhead, having the drapery overhead, right? Okay, so that's pretty much the whole entire ad for this part, right? It's just backlight, right? Make sure that she's backlit. We're shooting on the shadow side, right? So that way we have a nice, as much of a wrap as possible, right? Where you can tell if you look at the waveform here, it's a nice chunky waveform here, right? It's not too crushed down. It's not too clipping here. Right? It's a nice chunky waveform here, right? If we go back to our man here, our groomsman here, right? It's a little bit more spread out, but again, it's still nice and even, right? If we go back to our guy here, look at this, right? I mean, the meat of it is pretty much here, right? Like, what is that, 40 IRE? So again, choose the right location or choose the best location you can find, and then dress the set as possible, right? Spend a little extra money on set decoration, right? That's pretty much ad. And then we go back out here. We can choose, so right, we actually did add some chairs here, again, kind of just to help sell the whole space, sell the environment, sell the ad. I think we try to put some roses here, but we only had like so much left from these guys here, so there wasn't a whole lot that we could do with that. We didn't have extra money to spend on extras to put them on the front row. I think we had about like 15 chairs out here, and so we're kind of pushing in from like much further back and then going all the way in. But again, for like a 60-second ad, right? You want this to be the most important thing, right? Boost your FICO score instantly, sell some pretty good looking images here, right? And again, right, even this little eye light is really just natural light, right? There was no balance, no neg. It's when you have a camera that has a lot of dynamic range, like the Red cameras do, or at least in this instance, this was the Scarlett W. Pretty good dynamic range, right? You're just choosing to shoot the right place at the right time, which is a very consistent theme in a lot of the work that I do. And also the dynamic range of a camera helps, right? And for the gimmick for this ad is basically we have this pastor that's marrying two people, and then he's telling them that when was the last time that you checked your FICO score? When was the last time that you checked your credit score? And if you haven't, then go to Experian.com, blah blah blah. And then these the bride and groom is like, what in the hell is this guy talking about? I have no idea. What? I thought I was getting married here. Hello, right? again, it's gimmicky, right? Okay, so that is that. So let us head on to the second one. The second one is a spoof on The Bachelor. There's like so many different versions of The Bachelor, but this is a spoof on The Bachelor, and we created this like fake fake label, fake identity called the 800 Club, and you know it's basically this The Bachelor who's like a firefighter kind of guy saying that you know before joining the 800 Club, he was just, you know, a lone firefighter trying to find the love of his life, right? And after joining the 800 Club, which is like in a fake like Experian credit boosting club, now he's able to find the match of his life, right? So we have 3 talent again. Very, very minimal budget again for this one. But as we push in here, we can kind of see that, you know, we're trying to create this as like fake as possible, as like gimmicky as possible, right? I mean, first of all, we got the guy in a firefighter suit, right? In like half of a firefighter suit with a firefighter hat on, right? Let's see if we can get to some. All right, here we go. All right, so a little bit different here due to complications with like timing and transportation. Unfortunately, we shot this like 2 hours later than when I wanted to have shot this. This is pretty much like around like 11 o'clock. 11:30, right? So the sun is really high up in the sky, hence the very hard light. I originally wanted to shoot this around 9 a.m. during this time of year. The sun probably comes out around like 7 o'clock, right? So sunrise around 7 o'clock. By 9 o'clock, the sun in this specific location probably would have been like about here, right? So this is where our sun would have been at 9 a.m., right? Unfortunately, just things happened and we had to shoot this like 2 hours later, right? So 2 hours later, now our sun, how do we go full screen? Let's go, right? Now our sun is pretty much here, super high in the sky. All this hard light is hitting it, right? But we can still do a couple things, right? Is one, at least we have, instead of shooting, you know, having it being front lit, we can at least go side lit, right? So if you can't go backlight, try to go at least a little bit sidey if you can, rather than being a full front lit, right? Because if this was full front lit, we would not have any kind of contrast here, right? Where at least we have, if I can change this guy here, where if you see on the back side, on the back walls here, right? At least we have shadow here, right? We have shadow running up here. We have another lake, right? Because why not, right? Reflections make things cooler, right? And so again, we chose a location that can at least, when we're shooting outside, can at least help us sell and add a little bit more spiced up, right? Let's go ahead and delete all this stuff. Let's go ahead and move on with, here we go. Go ahead and move on with the rest of the ad, right? We come here. Nice little light flare here. We come in again, shooting opposite our backlight, our main source of light. You can tell here. This is my matte box where I have glimmer glass here. You can see the reflection kind of hitting his body, but it's like who really cares? You know what I'm saying? Like we're not trying to win an Oscar here. We're just making an ad here. Okay. Again, we have him. We have a voiceover during this whole thing. Really cool voiceover artist. Jay that was helping us out with this one. And again, right, side light, and you can tell, right, hard light creating these long shadows here, right? But at least we can position our main guy here to create an interesting frame, right? We have houses in the background here. We have the lake. We have grass here, right? So there's different layers, right? We have green, we have red, we have yellow, and then we have a different color. Like at least this isn't white, because if these houses were pure white, that would have been really hard to hold on the level of the house, right? But at least the houses are a different color, like blue, white, brown, right? Helping us out here. This was also shot on the Blackmagic Pocket 4K, and I think for these are on the Fujinon MK1855, right? Again, we're getting him working out, getting some movement in, right? Having still just backlight, not the best light, but at least the layers from light to dark are still happening, right? We even get a little bit of highlight here. right? House in the background, the darkness of the houses in the background help to sell the contrast from light to dark, okay? So we move in, we're getting him here with a little selfie shot here, all right? Again, kind of just making this as gimmicky as possible, right? Adding some movement in, and then just some straight up here. All right, so now let's get into some more meaty parts of it. Interview time, right? You guys will be shooting interviews throughout your career, all right? Let's go ahead and bump out. Going to show you the exposure here. You guys will be shooting interviews multiple times in your lives, corporate interviews or whatever it is, right? What are we doing here? Now we're inside of the house. We have 3 different interview types, right? And so we position him close to this, like it's a pretty big sliding door, right? But you can't see the sliding door. If you were to shoot the opposite side, you would see outside. You would have to balance with huge fixtures inside, and that just would have been a waste of time, right? So instead, let's just use this huge ass window glass door to our advantage, and we will light. That will be our main key light. All right. We have, I believe I diffused it with just a 4x4 of quarter grid just to help soften up the light here, right? It's enough where you can get that catch light in his eyes, right? Camera left, we have neg. We have, I think just a 4 by 8. Yeah, so a 4 feet by 8 feet long of neg running down just to create some contrast. And then we have a nanlite tube, which you can actually see here, right? This nanlite tube is just to create a little bit of interest, a little bit of interesting highlight for our guy here, just to kind of help separate him from the background. The background, we have at least some layering, right? Because you can imagine if this painting wasn't here, and if this couch was way lower, or if this couch wasn't here at all, it looked really boring, right? It's just a white wall then. But we have a dark colored couch, right? We position the pillows just to kind of create some more layers within the frame. We happen to have a painting there, right? If that painting wasn't there, you can do a couple of things. If you have the budget for a set decoration, you can fly something on here, a painting or a picture frame or something like that. If not, the best thing I would suggest to do is try to create some layers of light on here, right? So maybe you have like a 120D with the barn door attachment, and you can just do a little Jolico, a little Source 4 action, a little sun slash in the back. It might look kind of fake, but better than having a white wall. If you wanted to play it super realistic, then maybe you don't want to have a little sun slash here, right? And again, we have just some more layers here with this is a stairway leading upstairs, a little framing here, right? So just nice little layers. If we look at the waveform, again, right, a nice chunky waveform, right? Everything, he's pretty much here. So you're looking at between 50 and 60 IRE. I tend to go with IRE. It's just the easiest thing to go with, right? All right, so let's go on. He's talking about, how cool the duty is, and why he's here, and trying to meet the love of his life, right? Okay, so again, right, we're just trying to make this as like stupid as possible, right? Because stupid and funny is entertaining, and that sells. That's the most important part. All right, so we bump out for our first town here, right? And we're just adding in the little lower third, right? You would see on The Bachelor where it says like the person's name, their age, and then like where they're from and their occupation. We want to make this again as like stupidly comedy as possible. So we have Heather, 27, Rhode Island, and a sign spinner, like the people who are outside the corner spinning signs. That's her occupation, right? Okay. Now, a couple things here. We have that same glass door that we were talking about before, which is basically like camera left, right? You have this huge door. I mean, it's almost like an 8 feet by 8 feet door frame, right? We're lighting from that door. Now, again, that's just the sun coming in. Bumping out to some behind the scenes here, we can see this is that huge, basically like quadruple door frame that we were talking about, right? Have our talent positioned here. We have our camera position here. Again, 4x4 of quarter grid just to help soften up the light a little bit. Grid cloth, whether it's quarter grid or half grid, will tend to warm up the image a little bit. So it's great if you're shooting an interview where you want a little bit of warmth on someone's face, right? 120D with the Fresnel with quarter CTS, right? And the reason why we have quarter CTS is without it, this was looking a little flat, right? You can tell this wall here was looking just a little flat. That Fresnel with the quarter grid is helping to create some warmth on the wall and just enough interest here, right? Where you can imagine, like, if this was down by a stop or half a stop, it would have been a little flat, but we warm it up to kind of help sell the key light, right? Beautiful catch light here, beautiful catch light here. This was, I believe, again, Pocket 4K with the SLR Magic. The 25 millimeter micro prime from Micro Four Thirds, right? T1.5. I was probably at a T2. And again, we're just trying to create as much depth in this scene as possible. We're trying to layer as much as possible as we can in here, right? Christmas tree here, but honestly, who cares, right? It's adding to the background. We have a couple of items just on the shelving here just to create some leading lines, right? Leading lines that are helping to draw your attention to the most important thing here, which is her, right? Depth of field helps out as well too. Whether you're on Micro Four Thirds, doesn't matter. You can get great depth of field on the sensor. And then we have a little nanlite tube here, just again, kind of help create some background separation. We turned on the lights in the background here, I think, or we had a little light here, but either way, right? We have this separation of warmth to dark to background bokeh, right? Okay, let's go ahead and move on. So we got some more shots here. Again, just some more insert action shots here. Again, backlight, side light as best as possible, right? Now, what we did here with the close-up is I had a little 501 reflector with the white bounce side open, and I think I just used the chair here. Right, where is it? Yeah, so there's like some chairs right here, and I just angled it down just to kind of bounce light back at him, right? So again, right, it doesn't have to be like official film equipment. Just if it works, it works. Okay. Same interview setup, and then the most important one I wanted to show is actually, you know what? Another thing I should note is, again, make sure to get your wide shots, right? Make sure to get your wides, your mediums, and your close-ups. Get as much coverage as possible. All right, now the best one we had here was here. This is the hardest one to get, all right? Is now we're shooting pretty much like noon, right? 12 o'clock, 12:30. The sun is super high up, right? What do? We want to create as much depth as possible, right? You hear me say all the time, create as much depth, create as much contrast as possible. Same camera, but different lens. Now we're on the 50 millimeter APO lens. You can see how much it helps to pop her out from the background, right? Using depth of field. Now, how do we go about the lighting for this one? Okay, this is a tricky one. I'll show you the behind the scenes of this here, which is this guy here, right? So again, Pocket 4K, 50 millimeter APO. Now you can already see our sun is way up here, right? This is why it's important to know exactly where you want to shoot ahead of time, because if you know where you want to shoot ahead of time, you can go ahead and get the lighting, the grip, everything set up, so you can go ahead and shoot, right? Otherwise, if you're trying to figure out like, oh well, maybe if we shoot, I'm just gonna guess, maybe if we shoot this way instead, it'll look good, right? But if we shoot this way, then you have to compete with the sun just blaring down on the lens, right? And you're like, oh, okay, well, that doesn't work. And that took you 20 minutes to try out, right? And then you say, okay, well, what if we decide to shoot this way, right? Well, if you decide to shoot this way, then that means your talent is being completely front lit, right? That means that you need probably 8 stops, 10 stops of ND, and then everything in the background is also going to be like 3 stops over. So then you're like, oh, okay, well then how do we fix that? You don't fix that, right? So what do? We have our best option is the back side light as much as possible, right? So that's what we do here. We have our 4x8 of neg, right? Again, just to create some amount of contrast. We have the neg next to the camera. We have a 4x4 magic cloth. So the thing with magic cloth is it'll take down whatever, like say if you have a light, 300D Mark II, right? It'll take down whatever light is going through the magic cloth by a good stop and a half, right? So I mean it's thick, right? And that thickness is what allows us to get control here, right? Because if you can imagine, this was a stop and a half over, this would have been really hot, right? But we can create a nice, we can create a shadow side here, right? We can create a shadow side here so that we're shooting into the shadow, right? Now this is also where sometimes you just have to know the rules, so that way you can break the rules, right? How do we get eye light here? How do we get eye light here? How do we get softness on this side? Well, originally when I just had this up, her shadow side was too dark, right? It was about a full stop under. So normally what you would want to do is you would want to be able to wrap around here by having your bounce source on the same side as your key side, right? Now, interesting enough, this is our key side, right? We're choosing to use the natural bounce from the fencing, from the ground to camera left as her key side, right? We have a backlight here, key light here, right? I went ahead and used the 5.1 reflector on the fill side, right? You don't necessarily want to always do that, but if we were to fill from overhead, it just wasn't looking right. It just didn't look right because the ratios were off, right? And I was trying to place it like behind camera, but it just wasn't getting enough bounce. So the best option that I found on the day, again, this takes like 5 or 7 minutes to kind of figure out exactly what works, right? We placed the balance on the fill side, and that brought up our ratios, right? That brought up our ratios from, you can see if it was like here, it was here. Now our ratios go up to about here, right? So know the rules to understand when you can break the rules, right? And again, eye light here, a nice soft wrap around. We have the natural edge light from their sun, and again, the magic cloth is really helping to bring things down. So if you shoot a lot of day exteriors under harsh lighting, I would highly invest in at least a 4x4 magic cloth. But ideally, I mean, if you can, if you have at least 1 or 2 people with you all the time, I would highly suggest get at least a 6x6 of magic cloth. And then if you can purchase one of the collapsible 6x6 frames from Matthews. There's other companies that make it, but it's a collapsible one where it'll fit at least in the trunk of your car, or if you have like a sedan, you can push down the back seats and transport it that way. But it's enough where you can at least get a nice soft exposure, a nice soft diffusion, right? And that is it, right? The rest of it is pretty much just, kind of just insert shots. This is probably the worst shot. And again, it's just one of those things where like, you're not going to use in your reel. You're just shooting it because the producer and the director wants this shot, right? Of just something ridiculous. The guy is rowing out in the middle. And, this is like 1 p.m. The sun's out. He's being front lit. I mean, this looks like The Bachelor, right? Like, it's not going to be the best cinematography. It's just going to be an ad, right? So again, kind of just pick and choose the ones you're going to use for your reel. Pick and choose the ones that you can get away with, right? Get the best lighting and you can from the most important people. If you guys have any additional questions that I didn't answer in this video, leave a comment down below so that way we can all learn from each other. Like the video if you liked it. Subscribe to my YouTube channel as always, just so you're notified of new content coming out. And I will see you guys in the very next video.